In this weaving video, part 3, we are going to talk about the weaving technique.
So the best way to work with this type of loom is to have a, you can set it on the table like this and it's naturally slanted, which makes it easy to go up and down. But what you want is to make sure that you're not in a really awkward position, like hunched over. So if you have to scoot back and rest it in your lap, that often helps to tilt it up so that it's easier to go back and forth. You also get some pressure for beating, but I like to kind of scoot a table out a little bit, and you'll kind of get the most comfortable spot for you. But for the most part, you really want it to tilt upwards from you, and make sure that you're not like leaning or straining your back in a really uncomfortable way. All right, so now we're going to adjust the tension using our little tension sticks, which in this case are just double pointed needles. And we're going to raise it up and put one through. And then we're going to lower, and you can see how an alternating set of threads are up. So it creates this little figure 8 type of thing. And this will help keep the tension as we weave. And then as it gets tighter and tighter, because that warp is going to go in a little bit of an up and down zigzag, it'll get tighter as we go. We'll take one of these out as we go. But you can see how small that band is going to get when you cinch it in. And then we're just going to start with our pattern down here with the alternating back and forth, which is a really strong weave, and we'll make sure our band is the right width and that we're beating properly to a good tension. So it doesn't really matter whether you start with the shuttle going left or going right. You just want to make sure that you alternate. So if it's easier for you to look at your pattern and think, you know, if you've got it numbered and odd numbers going down and even numbers going up, whichever is easier for you. So I'm going to start with it up, going to from right to left. I'm going to leave a pretty decent sized tail. Open up, this is the shed, the part that is the open area between the threads. I'm going to push it down. And you can kind of see how it's going up and down. You'll want to kind of tighten that. And then we'll do the opposite, going from left to right. We'll push the heddle down. Open up that shed, pull it through, and now you can see how it's opposite. So we'll kind of beat that down, and then we'll make sure that the tension is right by pulling each side, because you really just want to see the warp threads. You don't really want to see the weft thread. And then in order to secure it so it doesn't start unraveling when we take it off the loom, we're going to take the tail of our original thread of our weft and through the same shed. So by pushing it down, opens up that shed. We're just going to weave it through. Oops, don't catch it on that one. So now you have one going to the right and one going to the left in the same shed. And then we'll give that a little beat. We'll tighten it up a little bit. And then we'll go in the opposite direction. So we'll lift it up, pass our shuttle through. Push it down with our beater stick. This part is a little bit, might have to finagle these parts a little bit at first. But once it gets set, you'll just back and forth, back and forth. And then same thing, we'll do one more time with there. Kind of tighten it down. And then we'll beat it. You don't want to do it so tight that it's so narrow. You want to make sure that you're keeping it the width that you're going to have it throughout the whole weaving. And then this guy's just going to get tucked down there. All right, so we've got 1, 2 of our patterns. So we'll do one more just alternating. And if it's easier to use your pickup stick, I like to beat the previous row. You can see how it kind of wedges down there. Give it a little tug. And then you can open up that shed. Doesn't need to be like that. And stick the shuttle through. And then you kind of give it a little tug while you beat, tug and beat. Pull that out. And then we are ready to do the last row of our pattern, and then we'll be able to start the repeating pattern. So because we're going from right to left, we're going to lift up, insert that stick, give it a little beat, give it a little tug, turn it up so that the shed opens up, and then pull it through. Beat it. And in that case, let's see, I was supposed to, so let's go back through there. If you make a mistake, you can just open up the previous one. So on this one, I was supposed to skip 2. So in your pattern, wherever you see that raised dot, those are the threads that should be seen when the heddle is in the correct position. So because we're going this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern threads are showing. 1, 2, 3, 4 dots. So when there's a color on the dot, that means that you want to see that pattern thread. If it's white and there's a dot, then we're going to hide that pattern thread by pushing it down. So we open up the shed, we slide our stick through, and wherever we don't want to see those pattern threads, we push it down. So now when you kind of shove it down to beat it, you can see that it looks like the pattern. There's only one pattern thread here and another pattern thread there. And you won't see the border threads on the sheet, but that's just because we're not going to worry about them. We're only going to be picking the pattern on our pattern threads. And now I've created a new shed, so I need to open that shed up and take my shuttle and pass it through that one. And that's what creates our pattern. Beat, tug. So when we go through the next time, the next pick is going to be, we're going to pick up the thread that we don't see. That pattern thread will already be there. We're going to push down the middle one. That one will already be up, and we'll pick up the outside one because there is no dot. So it's not going to be showing. So we need to go down and pick it up on the way back over. So we'll push it down. We will go from underneath and pick up that thread. We'll make sure that we're not picking up any other ones. We'll come and push down that middle one, and then we'll pick up that one on the end. And then we'll bead it, give it a little tug, open up that new shed, and then pull our shuttle through. Now we're starting to see our pattern. If it's too tight and you need to adjust the tension, you can just take out one of the tension rods and give you a little bit more working room. You'll see how you want to do it as you go. And we'll start to beat a little bit more as we go too, and you'll see again just how much we want to do that. So then our next one across is basically the same as this one, where we see this one on the end, we'll push down those next two, and then we'll leave that one just like it is. So we raise up the shed, and we can see what's up. We're going to leave this one alone. We're just going to push down that pattern thread, push down that pattern thread. We're leaving all the background threads. Bead it, tug a little bit to keep that throughout the whole weaving. We're going to try to keep that same distance and send it through. There we go. Tug, and you'll see as you go, you just make sure that wherever the pattern thread is a dot but no color, that you poke down that pattern thread. And wherever it has a color but no dot, then you're going to pick up from underneath. Just the pattern threads, not the white background threads. And just keep going back and forth. So when you've reached the end of your rope, so to speak, And it's time to move this so that you can elongate the strap and get more length. You unscrew these until it loosens up, and then you can pull this out and turn it, stick it back in, and then you pull this strap and you've got a whole new length to work with. And then you just tighten the screws back down while you pull on the strap so that it's nice and tight. Tighten that down. And then you can keep working. And if this is getting kind of long, you can wrap it around here or just let it hang. So to end it, I'll often use a length of like a thinner kind of cotton thread. It doesn't have to be that thick. And what you're going to do is you're going to do your next, let's see, I'll alternate it like that. Let's make sure it looks like that one. Yeah, so we're going to alternate like that. Yeah, open here yet. Just like that. Let tight. And then we're going to do the next one. And we're going to put our shuttle through that shed. And then before we take this out, we're going to take our little finishing thread and loop it. So we're going to make it just go in half. And then we're going to put this loop through the same shed going in the opposite direction so that the loop is going to be going that way, opposite of the way that we just put in the shuttle. So we'll kind of lay it across like that, hold it and beat, and then we're going to switch the shuttle, or the shed. We're going to open up a new shed, the heddle, beat it, pull mostly on the weft, open it up, send that through. Don't catch that in there because we'll trim that off later. Send that through, beat that, and then we're going to trim this weft, and we're going to put the end through that loop that we had previously. And then what we're going to do is pull on both ends. So you're going to pull against the weft, and it's going to catch on that little loop. And that's pretty much it. Then what we can do is lift the heddle and alternate the shed, beat, send the weft through one more time. And then for extra good measure, we can send the tail through the same shed. Kind of give it a little snug tight beat. And then we'll just do our last one. You don't have to send it through one more time, but I'd like to, because now it's on the same side. And that's it. These will just either get trimmed or you can just let them hang. And when we're ready, we can cut or we can loosen. Take it off. Pull this out. Pull that knot out. And then we've got, and we can cut. If you want just plain fringe, we can just cut it short, or you can braid it, so we can trim it. We can cut the knot off. Pull it through the heddle, and you could finish it in a number of ways. You could just trim it, you could braid, like make a big braid. You could do a couple different braids, but now it's going to not unravel, and you have your finished band.